Steve, as we come to the end of 2023, how would you review the year?
Pretty decent. I think if you're a Scotland fan, you've had a good year, a lot of good matches, good memories, and obviously qualification for another major tournament, which is fantastic.
At the start of the year, everyone looked at the group and thought this is going to be really difficult, and the way Scotland approached it, it didn't seem that way given the results. But what were you thinking at the start of the campaign?
No, at the start of the campaign, we knew it would be a tough group. The way the fixtures fell, with 3 home games out of the first 4 fixtures, we knew that the first half of the group was when we had to get the majority of the points, if you like. And it couldn't have started off in a better way. I was always pretty confident that we could get qualification, but I think the manner and how we got it and the way we started the group was exceptional.
Is there one moment when you thought this is definitely going to happen?
Yeah, I think the night we beat Spain at Hampden, if I'm being honest, going right back to that night, way at the start. We went into that camp and I spent the first 4 or 5 days of that camp stressing to the players how important it was that we didn't drop points to Cyprus, because you've always got that little Scottish psyche, that little Scottish mentality where you think normally we mess up in a game where we shouldn't. So we went into that and we concentrated a lot on attacking play, on playing Cyprus, and when I watch the game back now, I think maybe I put too much fear into the players because they played a little bit like it was a game that they were afraid to lose instead of just a game that they should go and win. We did win it eventually, and we won it eventually quite comfortable. And then on the back of that was the night at Hampden against Spain, where when we produced the performance that we did and got the result that we did, I had a feeling then that we would qualify.
You had that belief, but do you think that win against Spain, against a pot 1 team, gave the rest of the squad the belief if they didn't have it already?
No, I think the players believed in themselves, trusted themselves, but obviously when you beat a team like Spain, and it was such a great night with the crowd, and we got the goals at a good time, so we scored early, which gets the crowd on side, they stay with you, and then we score early again in the second half, so the crowd are with you all the way. The players always believed, but like you say, yeah, maybe that gave them that little bit extra confidence going into the June games that we could pick up another. Certainly the target was at least 4 points in June. We managed to get 6, and from there we almost had the job done.
That game in Norway, what was the emotions like when you're 1-0 down with only a couple of minutes to go and you come out winning it 2-1?
It's one of the games that makes football what it is, because I look at the performance and I think, yeah, it was a good, solid away performance. And then you get to 80 minutes and you're starting to think about changing. You change tactics because we had to chase the game. So you take a central defender, you go chasing. And at 1-0 down, you're always thinking, just need a chance. Just need one chance, and hopefully someone can go and finish that chance. So there was never a time I was sitting on or standing on the sideline thinking, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do it, because you always believe that your team is good enough to get the goal. And at that time you're thinking about to get the goal, to get the draw. Obviously on the back of getting the first goal, we got the second goal almost immediately. So after the first goal, I remember, I think it was Andy came running over, he said, are we going back to a back 5? And I was turning around and looking at the bench, and Big Dominic Hyam was going to warm up, and you're starting to think maybe we close it up. But before we even had time to do that, we were attacking down the other side of the pitch. The ball came in and obviously ended up at Kenny's right foot, and he stroked it into the bottom corner. And Q Bedlam on the bench, Q Bedlam on the pitch with the players. My only concern at that time was finding Dominic wherever he was in that scrum and making sure that he was ready to go on the pitch, because I thought it was sensible to go back to a back 5 and see out the remaining minutes.
That was an incredible result the way it happened, but have you ever been involved in a bizarre match day as the Georgia game and the way that transpired?
No, it was a crazy night, really. When you think of the amount of water that fell on the Hampden pitch, the state of the pitch. I mean, under normal circumstances, if that was a club game, it would have been called off. because it's UEFA and because of the travel involved and because of the logistics, then they're going to do everything possible to get it on. And you've got to say thank you to all the ground staff and the volunteers and the people that just kept trying to sweep the water off the pitch, which at times was a pretty thankless job. When the game started, the conditions were virtually unplayable. And I think if it had been 0-0 after 5 minutes, both teams would have been quite happy to go off. Obviously we scored in those early minutes. And it changes the dynamic a little bit, because then obviously we want the game on. Georgia want the game off, which you understand. But UEFA always wanted the game on. They wanted to give it as much chance as possible. And for the crowd to stay and be the way they were that night was amazing, because every time the players went out to warm up again, the crowd were right behind them. And the lads just kept coming back into the dressing room and thinking, no, we've got to get this game on. The crowd are with us. We want to play. So we had a really positive mindset going back to the pitch, and I think that helped us in the game.
That goal was crucial, because unlike games in the UK, when they're abandoned, they start again. So that was important. But do you think maybe just a part of this journey the team are on, it's a case of you beat the pot 1 team, then you're 1-0 down against Norway, you turn it around and win 2-1. Even the weather in Scotland's not going to stop this team getting to the tournament. Is there that feeling, like you say, the players couldn't wait to get back out there despite the conditions underfoot?
Yeah, they wanted to finish the June games with another win. They wanted to go in 4 games unbeaten, 12 points, knowing that you're going into the September games probably we were thinking looking for 4 points. As it turned out, the win against Cyprus in September was enough. But no, the lads were good. They knew they were in a good moment. They knew things were going our way, and I touched on that a little bit after the Norway game, where I said you just got to embrace these moments in football when everything's going for you. I think I used the phrase "ride the wave." You just got to ride the wave. Just get on with it, and as long as things are going your way, make it last as long as possible.
Sometimes we want to get carried away. Here we go. We're nearly at the tournament. How did you try and make sure that you kept everyone's feet on the ground, and in particular your players, not to get carried away, and make sure the focus was on getting the job done?
Well, against the Cyprus game, obviously going away to Cyprus, we knew that 3 points would get us almost there, if not there. As it turned out, it would have been enough. Was just to make sure that we went away and we controlled the game. We played as well as we could, which we did. We got the 3-0. On the back of that, we then played England in the 150th centenary game, and that was a good night just to bring us back down to earth a little bit, because England were better on the night. They played better than we did. We had put so much effort and concentration into the Cyprus game that I don't think the team was able to get themselves back to that really top competitive level. And England were good on the night, so I think that was. It's never nice to lose, and it's certainly never nice to lose to England. But in terms of us moving forward as a group of players and a group of staff, was a good night just to remind us where we were.
How would you describe the night Scotland qualified, given that you weren't playing a game?
It was strange. Obviously we went to Seville to play Spain, and I was confident we'd get the result that we needed. I could feel in the players that they were on it, they were focused, they knew what they were going there to do. And we played ever so well on the night. Again, football circumstances go against you, and a marginal VAR decision probably changed the course of that game, because when you get a decision like that, it's almost like Spain concede and then equalise straight away with the VAR decision. So it ended up a defeat, but was a good performance. We were a little bit sad that we didn't get to do the qualification on the pitch. Then you're going back to the team hotel. You're waiting on the next friendly game away to France, which was always going to be a tough game. And sitting in the hotel watching another game that was going to have a massive bearing on whether we qualified or not was a strange experience to sit there and watch it.
You didn't venture out into town afterwards to celebrate that one, did you?
Everybody went to town. That's why we're successful. So even the old guy was in the nightclub at midnight. So I think I was one of the first away though.
Did you?
As I should be.
Did you go to the chippy as well? What did you order?
Nah, I never made the chip shop. Straight back to the hotel, and off to sleep and then try and prepare for France.
After that France game, where it was a tough evening and you did make changes, what was it like the last two games, just to see out the group and finish off and making sure you didn't lose any more games?
Yeah, it was important to finish the campaign well. But even touching on the French game, there's a lot of good things in the French game. I know the result looks quite stark, 4-1 defeat, but there was a lot of good moments in that game where we actually played some good stuff. I've got some really good clips from that game that we can use to show the boys going forward how we can be better against the top teams, how we're capable of retaining the ball under pressure from a top team. So we although we lost, it was a good learning experience for us, certainly for the players and for the staff. So we take a lot of good things for that game, although we lost it. Going into the last game was slightly different, because you go to matches where you play without fear of losing, and it's one of my great sayings is that you always have to play football with it. Fear's probably not the right word, but it's the only word I can use to describe the feeling that I used to have as a player. You always play with a little knot in your stomach where you fear things going against you. And when you go to a game, there's no tangible reward, because we'd already done the hard yards. It was just to make sure that we finished the campaign well. We knew going to Georgia would be tough. It was a tough night, but we managed to get a point. And it was similar at Hampden. It was a strange atmosphere. The Tartan Army were relaxed. They weren't nervous. And I think in the first half the players started the game too relaxed, and we found ourselves chasing the game. But we got on top of it second half. I thought we were better second half. Got in front. The only disappointing thing was we didn't defend well towards the end and conceded a late equaliser, which wasn't the best way to end the campaign, but it was another point, and we finished with 17 points, which is normally in a 5-team group is more than enough for qualification.
Given that then, given you've already been to a tournament, given you got to the playoffs for the World Cup, you now qualify out of a group. What more did you learn about your team that you didn't know already?
I learned that they're still hungry, they still want to be successful, they understand that we're on a journey, and I think they understand as well that that journey's not finished. We've got more that we can achieve. The qualification for the Euro 2020 was good. We did it thanks in part to Alex McLeish and his staff, who'd won the Nations League section, who got us to those playoff games. We did it in a nervous manner at home against Israel. We did it with a little bit of a swagger up until the 94th minute in Serbia, when we conceded the 1-1. Managed to get through in the penalty shootout. And from there was just to build into the next campaign, a good World Cup campaign, finishing second. Disappointing to lose the playoffs, where in the game against Ukraine, we just didn't play as we can play. And if that happens at any level, you lose, and that's what happened. And then from that, the players were determined to make sure that they go to the next tournament, and here we are, looking forward to Germany in the summer.
Very much a team game, but looking at some individuals this campaign, Scott McTominay, an important player, but did you expect to get as many goals and as many goal involvements from him as it transpired?
Obviously I'd be lying if I said I expected it, but I'd had a chat with Scott before the campaign started, tweaked his position a little bit, allowed him a little bit more freedom to get forward on the pitch. And suddenly he was scoring goals. It was great, because we are a team who rely quite a lot on goals from other positions. A lot of the strikers, or the strikers that I play, so Dyke, Shea, Adams, whoever it is up front, whichever one it is, always seem to get a little bit of stick because they don't get enough goals. But the way we play, the way the team is structured, is for that striker to help the midfield boys to score goals. And if Scott starts chipping in as well as he's done, John McGinn chips in with goals. Callum's had a few. Callum's got a couple for us, Callum McGregor. So as long as those boys are scoring for midfield, we don't really care about who gets the goals as long as we get them. So it was good for Scott. He had a really good campaign.
You seem to have that freedom as well, because regardless of what's going on at club, whether he's playing or not, that's all left at the door, not just with him but other players when they come on international duty. Is that fair?
Well, I think what we try and do is we try and encourage them to come to us and just be what they are, be themselves. You know, if you take Scott McTominay as an example, he was struggling to get in the Man United team. He came away. It was a release for Scott to come and play for Scotland, because he knew he was going to play. He knew he was a valued member of the team. And then you go out there and he does what he does. And I think his performances for Scotland probably turned a few heads at Manchester United. And credit to Scott, he's got himself back in the Man United team as the first pick. And if that's the kind of thing that the national team can help you to do, then that's great for everybody, to come away knowing that maybe they're not playing week in, week out at their club, but they know that good performances for the national team can maybe change the way people think about them.
How important was it getting Angus Gunn to play for Scotland?
It's always important to try and improve your squad, and I don't think anyone would argue that Angus coming in has improved the squad. So it's something that we always look to do as and when we can, as and when the opportunity comes up. If we can improve the squad, then that's what we'll try and do.
You've been linked with players, and maybe it's an international manager's chance of a January transfer window, but is that something you're still actively talking to players who maybe could play for other nations?
No, at the moment I would say I'm not active in terms of talking to other players. Those things tend to work themselves out without too much involvement from me. So
does there have to be a willingness?
There has to be a willingness on both sides, and that's the way it's always going to move forward. At this moment in time, there's not a lot of movement on outside, or players that are outside the squad at this moment coming into the squad. I'm absolutely delighted and happy with the squad that I've got, and it's going to be difficult for me, even from the pool of players that I'm working with just now, to pick 23 for next summer. So that's all I'm focused on, is looking to pick a good 23-man squad that will go to Germany next year and do their country proud.
You've got this group that have been involved quite regularly, but certainly over this recent campaign, do you see any players potentially breaking in? Maybe some of the younger ones. I know Ben Doak's been spoken about a lot, but any of the younger ones, or somebody coming from left field? I think with 6 months to go, and before you actually name the squad, you have to be open-minded. So I'm open-minded. If you told me now that I'd have to go with the 23 that you would say would be the sort of regular 23 pick, then I'd be delighted to do that as well. How worrying or how difficult is it as an international manager when you see players getting injured? I know recently there's been Andy Robertson, Kieran Tierney, Aaron Hickey. Is that something that's you need a bit of luck now between now and the Euros to keep players fit?
You're always going to need luck. I think the law of average says that any international team going into a tournament will probably lose one or two players before they get to that tournament through injury. Going into the last Euros, we lost Ryan Jack and Kenny McLean, which would have been 2 picks in the squad. We lost them through injury. So between now and May, when I name the squad, there's going to be a lot of injuries. Hopefully not too many serious ones, but even going into towards the later stages of the seasons, you know that a twisted ankle or a tweaked knee can put a player out the tournament. So you've always got that little worry at the back of your mind, but there's not a lot I can do about it just now, Luke. So I'll try not to worry about it too much. Maybe think about it a little bit more come April, May.
You've had time to reflect on the draw now. Have you got any further thoughts on Germany, Switzerland, Hungary?
Yes, I think it's a good open draw. I think the games are certainly good games to look forward to. Pleasing thing for me as a football coach is that it's 3 teams that we haven't come up against. So it gives me a lot of work to do over the winter months. The hibernation of the international manager is normally December, January, February. So I can hibernate in a room, get a big screen on and watch a lot of football. Learn a little bit more about all 3 teams and make sure that when we get to the tournament next summer, we're as well prepared as we can be.
The opening game can sometimes be a bit of a circus, everything that goes around it. Is that something that you want to embrace, or the players embrace, because it's the eyes of the world are on this game, or is it something you would maybe have rather played Germany in match day 2 or 3?
I think the opening game, you said it could be a bit of a circus. I'm pretty sure it will be a bit of a circus. It's something that you have to be careful of. For us, it's not about the opening ceremony, it's not about the hoo-ha that will be there. It's about the match. So we have to sort of separate ourselves from the build-up, if you like, and just concentrate on being ready for the first game against the host nation, Germany, who I'm sure, although they're maybe not having the best time just now, I'm sure come the tournament the Germans will be ready, because they always are.
Speaking to the guys involved in 1998 at the Stade de France against Brazil, they said they couldn't warm up on the pitch and it was totally different. Is that something that, we don't know obviously what the plans are at this stage, but you might have to be flexible in terms of how you build up when you actually get to the stadium?
Yeah, for us, the most important thing on that will be that we know in advance what the schedule will be at the stadium, on the pitch, when we can warm up, when we have to be off the pitch, and then maybe we can introduce that into a training day, so that the players understand this is what you have, this is the amount of time you have between coming off the pitch and going back on the pitch. It will be different to a normal game, and we just have to make sure that there's nothing that happens on the day that surprises the players.
Do you think it's a group where could have been a lot tougher, but it's also a group that is tough enough and every team will be looking at each other thinking they can win?
When you know me, I was looking, everybody kept saying, oh, you want an easy group, and I looked at all the teams and I'm thinking, somebody needs to point out where the easy group is, because there's no such thing as an easy group. Every team that's there is a good team. Every game will be competitive, and for me that's I keep talking about the Scottish national team. What are our ambitions? Our ambitions have to be, and if you speak to members of the Tartan Army, I know you're one yourself, if you speak to the Tartan Army, all they want is for their team to be competitive every time they go to the pitch. I think we've got that now. I think we've got a competitive team, so we'll go into these 3 games competitive. Hopefully we'll play as well as we can play, and then at the end of the 3 group games we'll tally up the points and see where that takes us.
I remember being in the crowd the last time we played Hungary in a friendly back in 2018. Is it fair to say that there's similarities between them and Scotland in terms of the way they've improved and started qualifying for tournaments more regularly? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think that's fair. There's quite a lot of countries who go in cycles. You get the stronger nations who are always strong, pretty much always in a pot 1 team. You get the other nations that'll just come in a cycle. They'll improve. They'll get to a stage where they should be qualifying. Like you say, Hungary are now qualifying for tournaments. We've now qualified for 2 out of 3 playoffs in the other one. So yeah, they're probably on a similar trajectory to Scotland. And like I said before, it's a team that I haven't looked at too much, because obviously we've never been drawn against them. So a lot of homework to do on them, and hopefully find a few weaknesses that we can exploit.
So do you ask Andy Robertson to kick Dominic Szoboszlai in training or something like that?
Of course we don't do things like that. No, I'm sure for Andy it'll be great. He can have a little bit of banter all the way through, and it's nice that the players are so mixed at the clubs. You know, there'll be a lot of inter-player banter at all the clubs about different things, and it all adds to the process of building towards the tournament.
Does that bring back memories for you? Your first Scotland game was against Hungary as a player?
Yeah, a long time ago. Don't remember too much about it. I know we won on the night, and I was really proud. Obviously, your first cap for your country is a great occasion. A lot of family there as well, so no, it was a good memory.
Switzerland, the last time Scotland won at a major tournament at Euro '96 at Villa Park, but where are the Swiss at this moment, given that they've qualified for many tournaments in recent years? Yeah,
they've been very, very consistent. I think they're probably a little bit disappointed with the qualifying campaign this time, but they got enough points to get through, and they'll be tournament hardened because they've got a lot of players who are used to the tournament, so it'll be another tough game.
You talked about expectations from the Tartan Army. Is that something you thrive on because they've got expectations because this team are doing well, or is that something that we could focus too much on and maybe adds a pressure? No,
I think it's great that they're on side. I think it's great that they expect their team to be competitive. So no, it's all part of the process. The more you do, the more people want. The more successful you are, the more success people want. So you have to embrace that and get on with it.
It's not long since the draw. How many people have been asking you for tickets already?
The answer's no, if you're going to ask.
Just finally, 2024 then, Steve, what can Scotland fans expect given they have the Euros and they also have the A division of the Nations League as well?
Fantastic matches, great opponents, big challenge. So, being Scottish, we like a challenge. This year's going to be a challenge. So last year was a great year. It's time to close the door on 2023 and look forward to hopefully a very exciting and successful 2024.